Hello,
Hello,
racers!
racers!
We are back from Liverpool, so let's talk about the tournament, the meta, and the possible future changes to suspended cards.
Yeah, so a few days ago we went to Liverpool Sector Qualifier. It was a lot of fun. We met with other guys from Enigma, so all who commentated the whole event, as well as Torque, who also participated. And yeah, the whole event was a lot of fun.
Yeah, okay, so let's go through the meta spread. It was a little bit different than the Milan meta, but it can look a little bit different, but it was actually really similar. But less people brought the meta decks, and more people brought the less competitive but fun to play leaders, and they were trying to win a showcase. So every single meta deck percentage went down. The biggest, I think, was Han, that from more than 7% went down to 4, which allowed more control decks to pop up in the top tables.
Yeah, exactly. I think also Boba 4 and Piet went down a little bit, and Palpatine 1 went up, but those percentages are like, it's not by much, basically.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Boba only went down a little, because neither in Milan nor in Liverpool this deck put up any performances, and I think we just should move on from the leader like competitively.
Yeah, basically right now there's no point to really play that deck because Jango is doing his job better in vast majority of the cases. Like he's good against like hard control decks, sure, because indirects are very tough for hard control to deal with because they don't have that many units. But besides that, I think Jango is overall better in every other situation, basically.
Yeah, so maybe after the suspension or ban, Boba can come back, but I still don't think he's good enough to be played on competitive level. Yeah.
Yeah, so this the list that we brought to Liverpool PQ, not PQ but Sector Qualifier. We made quite a few adjustments from the Milan. So we added a little bit more 2-drops, so Zygerian, and also electromagnetic pulse. Both of those cards are basically meant to be for the mirror, because at least for me, mirrors were quite tough in the Milan. Like those were the only games that I lost, and we moved the 1-drop package to the sideboard. With the idea that we still very like the 1-drop package, and we were siding it in against basically every single matchup except the Jango Mirror and stuff like Cat Bane that has pinks that can kill them. But stuff like Queen against Queen Lance and Piet, anything like that, we were bringing those 1-drops and they were amazing as always.
Yeah. The other change we made, we put down Gorilla Soldier from sideboard to the main, because we basically decided to be pre-sideboarded versus Jango Mirror, because it is the hardest matchup. But we had to cut some cards from sideboard, so we decided to go no cards versus hard control, except for Chamsindula, because he's very versatile versus a lot of matchups you can put him in. Not only ramp, but even hard control, he is basically a draw a card because you will not be able to resource every single turn. So for me, this is one of the best new cards from the set as a sideboard card. Yeah, but if you will see later, it costed us a little bit that we didn't sideboard versus the slower decks.
Yeah, I mean, that was generally the idea. Like, I think the 1-drop package helps you in a lot of controlling matchups as well. So it's good against stuff like Kira as well, but it's not as strong against like the hard control. So like stuff like Bosk from Blue. But we decided that it's not worth running those guys in sideboard because there were not really many people playing those decks in Milan, and also they didn't really do like amazing results. I don't know if any hard control made it to the Day2, but maybe like a few, but none of them made it to the top 8. So yeah, that was our like risk that we were going to take.
Yeah, and we also thought that the decks that were playing decently into Jango, so Quinlan, Anakin, they counter hard control, so there wouldn't be really a lot of even if you met a hard control early in the tournament and you lose, on the later stages you shouldn't encounter it a lot. But it was a mistake because there were a few players that managed to sneak up with Bosk Blue. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how Jango performed overall. In both sector qualifiers, so Liverpool in Denver, he was a little bit below 20%, and then it just skyrockets to 35 on 40% on top 64, and then goes up and up. So in Liverpool it was less on top 8 than it was in Milan, but it's still almost 30% of decks in top 8 were Jango, and in Denver it was more than 60%, which is, it's absurd to think about when only 18% started with the deck to go to 60 in the last day. Jango is definitely a problem, and we will be later talking about what we think the FFG should do, or what are their options for the upcoming announcement on 9th regarding the meta. Yeah.
Right, so now we can move to the Swiss real quickly. So as we said, like there was quite a lot of different decks. I faced off against stuff like Han Blue, who actually made it to the top 8. Some Gar-Saxons, where the one-drop package was very good. Some other stuff like Queenlands, Jangos, basically classic decks, and some other more niche like Poe and Amakin.
Yeah, so and as you can see, the fact that we didn't run one drops in main didn't really hurt Sip's performance. He basically owed to every single person on day one. I think the only games you like lost at least one was versus a Mirror and Quinlan in the last round.
Yeah, exactly. And the Quinlan list was very optimized to be good against Jango. Like the way how he built his deck was really good. So he played the Quinlan very aggressively, and I think that's a very good approach to Jango when you play as Quinlan, because trying to control the board, like some Quinlan players try to control the board too much, but you need to race with Jango to some degree, because at some point they will start playing those Devastators, and it will be hard to Quinlan to win game at that point.
Yeah, so big on notation, he also qualified for day 2, and he was actually the player who took one of my like losses on round 6. It was a really close game. We went 1-1, and then the game 3, it was basically about action economy, and I calculated that if I hit triple with anything that can tap his entire board, I win. I had 20 few cards in the deck. I still didn't see a single War Juggernaut or Devastator, so I went for it. Sadly I missed. I only hit IG, and I couldn't tap one of his units. One of the one drop that was dealing 2 damage. I was on 3 HP, so I thought, okay, it's not great, but if he doesn't have any buffs, I can still win because I had little on board. But unfortunately, the surprise strike top deck like finished me off, and it was the only loss I had day 1. And regarding sideboarding, pre-sideboarding versus Jango, I didn't play a single mirror day 1, which was a little bit annoying. But I was managing all the decks that try to counter Jango, so Anakins, Gar-Saxons, Catbanes. All of those matchups are not really that hard for Jango. And I think from those, Anakin is one of the hardest, because especially the new list with Colossus with 35 HP, if you don't manage to stabilize the board, they can really heal for a lot, and with looks and redemptions can just put you in the position that you basically can only win with insane triple dark rates. So we both made day 2. Torque sadly only managed to do 6-3, and he still is in the top 64. But the tournament was that you need to have X2 to qualify for day 2, and it was only about 35 people.
Yep. So going to day 2, I faced off against Josera in my first round. He's a very good Anakin player. Like he knows the deck well, and yeah, he played very well. So I ended up losing against him. But luckily then I played some mirrors where yeah I feel way more comfortable with the current list. So I ended up winning them, and then I took ID with Bosk just to guarantee the top a spot in top 8.
Yeah, you basically were both in top 8, so that match wasn't really like necessary to play out, because even if any of you would lose, you would still be in top 8. So taking a break before the top 8 is also like a really big advantage when like SIP you are going X1 through the entire tournament. My day 2 sadly was not that great. I started with the matchup against the Obi-Wan green player that managed to qualify for day 2 in Milan and in Liverpool. He adjusted his deck list. It's a really hard matchup now. The Obi-Wan's ability to counter Tarkin Town basically, because every single time you ping, that he will just kill it, makes it impossible to race. So the way you win this matchup is by trading everything, not allowing Obi-Wan to build up a board, because your late game should be better than his. But it was still a 2-1 game. I've managed to win like with a really close margin. Sadly, then I've encountered the Bosk Blue that SIP take the ID in the last round. It was almost an unwinnable matchup, especially that his deck was pre-sideboarded versus to beat Jango with grenades, shootdowns, and mostly removal. He only played units that are really annoying for Jango, so Clients, Snokes, and Palpatines. So his list was really well built for the tournament. He didn't encounter like the counters to it, which allowed him to go like really well into the Swiss. And next round I've played with Jędrzej. He's also a Polish player, a really good player that was a top 8 in Milan. Sadly, our games were not really exciting. I bricked basically both games. We had a really decent openings, turn 1, turn 2, but from turn 3 to turn 6, when both games ended, I didn't see a single card that was like good, relevant. So no triple, no sneaks, no ruthless, no war juggernauts, and both games from my opponent went similar. He went pretty even early. I think in both games I was a little bit ahead, but then on 4 resources, triple Dark Raid, 5 resources, sneak attack into Ruthless Raider, and 6 resources, triple Dark Raid into Devastator. So I would really like to like replay this matchup because he's a really good player, and Jango Mirror can be extremely rewarding to play if both players have similar luck. Sadly, this game wasn't. I don't think it was winnable with any decisions. And lastly, I won versus Quinlan, and I was just hoping because one player with X3 was qualifying to top 8. Sadly, it wasn't me. I've ended up on 11th place, but for me, it's still a decent showing. Like in a tournament with more than 400 players, being top 16 is a really good achievement. I'm a little bit dissatisfied that I couldn't go to top 8.
Right. So for the top cut, first in the top 8, I faced off against another mirror. The games were really close. Like if you are getting to that point where both Jango players really know what to do, the games are really close and they are coming down to like very small misplays or some small interactions where you can take advantage of them. And yeah, I ended up winning that game 2-1. The games were very close. If you want, I believe they're available to watch on Twitch or YouTube because it was streamed. Then in top 4, I faced off against the Bosk, and well, our deck list was really like made in a way that we're hoping to dodge Bosk Blue matchup. So unfortunately, I ended up coming across one. So right from the get-go, I knew that the matchup is gonna be really tough for me. Game 1, the game was quite close. I took his base down to like 2 HP, something like that. So yeah, it was quite close, game 1. But yeah, I ended up losing that because I didn't find anything to close the game. And then game 2, he just completely rolled me. Like, I think at no point I had more than like 15 damage on his base. So yeah, it was really close. I was quite unlucky on like vigilances, champs and duelas. So with champs and duela, I ended up resourcing my own devastator. But yeah, sometimes to be what it is. And besides those, we have Saxon Yellow, Han1 Blue, who I played like in Swiss in one of the early rounds. The Queenland, the guy who plays a very aggressive Queenland. So the guy who I played in Swiss as well as Beton. Joseras Anakin. So very strong competition. And yeah, in the finals, Bosk Blue ended up winning against Yenjay's Jango. And yeah, I believe that right now a lot of Jango players don't really have a sideboard that is made in a way to handle Bosk Blue. And in our eyes, like, we played Boba for 2 sets, like set 1, set 2, and we are always having not always, but for most of the seasons, we are having a sideboard that was tailored to counter hard controls. And having those cards really can swing that matchup. If you don't have them, those games can be really tough. And if you have them, it becomes way easier to play them. So that's how it was in set 1, set 2, set 3 also. Like, we had those Palpatines, stuff like that. And yeah, in set 4, at the moment, we were like thinking that there's too much, there's too high, the possibility of finding a mirror is way higher, so we decided to make our decklist in a way to counter those instead.
Yeah, and for example, because the other part is also, we also put out fangs from the list and sideboard, because there weren't really big uses for them, which also hurts the matchup a lot versus boss, because if you manage to not allow him to draw cards, it can be really one-sided. So it's like Bosk is a really good counter to the base Jango, and Jango that doesn't have an answer. But if you put like 5-6 cards in sideboard, this matchup becomes really, really favored into Jango. So yeah. It's not like if we would be continuing into the same meta, hard control is not really the best counter to Jango. It was a great choice from the player to know that Jango players now need to sideboard versus the mirror, because it was their hardest matchup. And he abused that with playing a deck that can basically have a free win versus Jango if they don't have enough tools to counter it. Okay, and like following this, we are anticipating a change, because the percentages of Jangos, the win ratio of the deck, and how abusive it is and how uninteractive it is, they reach the level that I think it requires a suspension or ban of something to make the meta more broad. Because right now, even though we have not only Jango, but the meta is basically split in half. It's Jango and the decks that can beat Jango. And in the healthy meta, it should be more of a lot of decks that can interact with each other, and not one deck that is the big dog to beat. And you can have a meta with a the oppressive deck like we had in the last one with Han. Han was a really good leader, but most decks still could perform versus Han. You could still win this matchup. And with Jango, if Jango has a good matchup into you, you are not winning the best of 3. So the steps that FFG could make, we basically put down into the 3 options. So obviously you can ban Jango. It can hurt people who got showcases or who like paid a lot to build the deck. But it will be the safest choice, because we would basically just remove the deck from the equation, and it wouldn't be a problem anymore.
Yeah. The other options is banning Triple Dark Raid. Triple Dark Raid is the card that gives you so much value for only 3 resources. So when you compare it to something like Sneak Attack, it gives you 1 more resource of a discount. So Sneak Attack gives you only 1, and Triple Dark Raid gives you 2. And also it gives you card advantage. So you searched for the card from the deck instead of you having to play that card from your hand, as it is with Sneak Attack. The restriction is the fact that it has to be a vehicle, but right now there are so many with the new set that it's not that big of a deal. So FFG could ban Triple Dark Raid. That's also, at least in my eyes, probably the best option, because the card is probably gonna be very problematic in the long term. Like right now, it's very problematic with Jango, and even after Jango ban, there might be a new deck where the card is gonna be like incredibly strong. It's a quite fun card to play, so it enables some really nice strategies. So stuff like Saxon Yellow, Dooku with yellow, Ventress yellow. So it would hurt those decks really badly, but I think in the long run, banning Triple Dark Raid is the way to go.
Yeah, I also think like Triple Dark Raid is one of the cards that, like, on base level, the power of it is just incredible. The fact that it gives card advantage, mana reduction, and instant damage, like, and all of those combined with, you don't need to have anything in your hand except Triple Dark Raid. I would also be really glad if they remove it from the set. And I think even if they don't, this card will be banned somewhere in the future.
Yeah, and also the third option is to ban War Juggernaut. It's like the option that will hurt Jango the least. So after ban War Juggernaut, Jango is gonna be still a very competitive deck. I don't know if it's gonna be the best or like in top 5, like what is gonna be his final placement, but he's gonna be still in the meta. So that's one of the solutions, but then you still run to the problem that maybe next set we'll get even more vehicles, at least a few, and then we will come back to the same spot as we are right now, that the vehicles are too oppressive with Triple Dark Raid and Jango combined together.
Yeah, War Juggernaut is a card that it only hurts Jango. There is not any other leader that plays it. It's one of the best cards in the deck, but the deck was competitive before the War Juggernaut, and he also got IG and Devastator in the new set. So without War Juggernaut, I think Jango would still be one of the best decks, if not the best still, but definitely his win percentage versus, for example, Quinlan would go lower, because War Juggernaut is especially brutal versus decks that want to be on the board, because Triple Dark into War Juggernaut for like 12 damage can end games that you thought you wouldn't be able to win. And it's only 4 mana, so you can add something on top of it, and the swings are just incredibly powerful. But, so I think the banning of one of those is basically guaranteed. I don't think FFG can allow for this to continue. But then we are going back a little bit to Han problem that we have last set. And I still think Han can be problematic. Even though it's one of my favorite leaders. But especially one interaction in the deck is, for me, too powerful and to not interact. Like the interaction is not counterable easily. and this is basically DJ combo.
Yeah, basically DJ is very oppressive combo, like the fact that if you manage to steal a resource with his ability and then destroy it at the very end of the round with Han's ability, it gives you basically a ramp and then deramps your opponent, and those two resources of swing really can hurt, and against the vast majority of the matchups it's just straight up game winning. So you could technically ban Han, but I don't think it's necessary. Some people might say that he's too good, but I feel like a good solution is to either ban DJ or just make a rule adjustment where you make the interaction not work the way how it does right now. So like let's say that the resource that you destroy with Han's ability can't be it has to be a resource that you own, so it can't be the resource that you stole with DJ, or something around those lines, which will make you unable as a Han player to destroy the resource that you stole with DJ. So the opponent can still like kill the DJ and get the resource back at any point of the game.
Yeah, and you can do it with like two ways. You can errata Han to just say it's similar to Lando, so you only can destroy resources you own. But the second part, and I think the second option, and I think it's much more clean, is to change the rules for Star Wars, that whenever you destroy a resource, it needs to be a resource you own, and then you wouldn't need to errata anything. It would just be a basic rule for the game that the resource you don't own cannot be destroyed by your own card. And it could be problematic in the future if you want to print a card that does this, because there might be a balanced card to destroy resources. But then the fix for that is text on the cards always overprints what the rule says. So overwrite. So a card can do something that is basically illegal if you word it well enough. So yeah, for me, the option 3 is the cleanest and the safest for people, because they wouldn't need to learn, because they have something written on the card and it works differently. They would just need to adjust with the new rules of the set. And lastly,
we would like to remind you guys that we do coaching. So if you're interested, send us an email at SWU-SwoopRacers@gmail.com. The price of the coaching is €25 per hour, and we can do all sorts of things. So deck building, meta-analysis, game reviewing, tournament preparation, basically anything you need Star Wars Unlimited related. And also, we're quite flexible in terms of hours, so no matter where you live, so if you're from US, it's not the problem, we'll schedule something.
Yeah, so thanks everybody, and I hope to meet a lot of you in France in the next regional qualifier. Bye!